Hi, I'm Dave and I help business leaders to use technology more effectively. Today I want to talk to you about misconceptions with generative artificial intelligence. Let's get going. So I think the number one thing that I see people doing at the moment that is not really working is trying to use ChatGPT, etc., like a search engine. There are tools out there like Perplexity that are designed to do that, but it's a great way of inventing stuff that isn't true. It's not a great use for generative AI. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about where I expect AI to go in the future. And that will highlight one of the points here is that having the world's knowledge at your fingertips does not mean that you're not going to make mistakes or say stuff that isn't true, because after all, it's been trained on stuff that humans have put on the internet. So yeah, don't use ChatGPT, etc., as a search engine. The second thing is around innovation. I've got a demonstration I'll try and show you with this. I was chatting with, I think, Claude, and I said, can you make some kind of flow chart diagram of these ideas? And it created this beautiful diagram, and I could see connections that I hadn't thought of. So while it's the case that generative AI is just reshuffling the cards, it's not inventing anything new, it may create connections you haven't thought of previously. So an example in medicine, what we could do is we could say, okay, well, I want to find a chemical that's going to do, or in chemistry in general, I want to find a chemical that's going to create some kind of reaction. So it can suggest 50, 100 different potential chemicals that might be useful based on its experience and knowledge of the world. And it might include things that you hadn't thought of. You could then run an experiment or get a computer to run an experiment and test it, see if any of those meet your criteria. So while that is innovation, it's not creating new ideas. Really, what it's doing is it's matching up the cards. So I think for a small business, especially if you're thinking about using artificial intelligence in your business, the way you're going to be using it mostly at the moment with generative AI is to disseminate and consolidate information. So you could use it, for example, say, right, here's our knowledge base on something. Can you explain how this works based on the knowledge base? Or can you compare these two documents and tell me what the differences are? Or we've got this contract, what things might I want to add to it? And that's the sort of thing where the humans and the computer can work really well together and generate value. So I think there's a big mistake that people are making is they're trying to create these big projects in order to make AI solve big problems in their business. And actually, that's not where to start. We will get to that stage, don't get me wrong, but at the moment, we're not at the point where these agentic AI people replacements are going to work. But what we can do is take an element of the business and automate it, or we can speed processes along by consolidating information. An example I've shared with you recently, I was trying to find a way of downloading 90 odd documents from a website. And what I found was, rather than clicking on each one, after the third or fourth time I asked ChatGPT or Claude, it wrote a little bit of script which I could use directly in Chrome, and it downloaded all these files. So yes, it's got knowledge. We can help us learn stuff quicker. It can help us disseminate and assimilate information quicker. But what it can't do is innovate in the way that a human can. So I think we should be thinking about it as a tool that we use alongside the way that we're working. Another misconception I see around artificial intelligence is it getting rid of jobs. In fact, it's probably likely to create new jobs. But what it will do is dramatically, fundamentally change the way we all work. In the same way, maybe like email did or Zoom changed the way that we worked forever, artificial intelligence is going to do the same thing. So you're not going to get away with working the way you've worked in the past. So this is why I'm always saying to people, like, experiment, play with it, but don't start giving it your company's intellectual property or confidential data without having a policy in place to make sure that data can't leak. A lot of projects are getting stuck because they realize that they've got data governance issues. What that means is if you have an AI program that's able to look at all of your documents across your entire organization, then anybody could do a search on any of those documents within the organization, that is, to find stuff. So you could say, give me everybody's payroll information and everybody's mobile number and address and date of birth. And if the information exists in some database, which it probably does, it can just, there you go, there's the information. So with data governance, it's a matter of siloing up your data. So one of the things that we definitely want to be doing at the moment is having a review, making sure we've got the structures in place and we've got our data retention policies set. Again, if you're using 365, it's super easy to do. If you need help, just ask. So this misconception that we're going to be able to just plug these things in and off they go, we've got this issue around data security and GDPR and all of this stuff. So you're going to need to think about how that's going to be impacting your business before you start just randomly uploading data. We're starting to see with the agentic versions of AI now, this ability to do stuff, go on a website and click on stuff. At the moment, it's still very early days, but I'm sure that a lot of jobs will be able to be automated by doing this. A lot of these non-jobs. So if you've got a non-job where you sit there typing stuff from one Excel document into another all day, that is going to dramatically mean that your work is not going to exist in the future. So you need to plan for that. My recommendation is you look at where the gaps in the organisation around workflow, profitability, and find a valuable place to look where you're going to add business value, because everybody has skills that artificial intelligence doesn't. And until we get to generative AI and it's more intelligent than humans, that's going to be remaining the case. So I hope that's useful. Just some things to